No, it's insane. It's a criminal racketeering scheme. Laura Walquist, the prosecutor, probably your prosecutor.
She was.
Laura Walquist prosecuted your case, that crooked bitch.
She did.
I can hang her on 50 to 100 fraud instances any given day. FDLE has that information. I told them where and how to look in the record. But the state attorney's office, Bassford's office, they destroy documents routinely to cover their prosecutors. It's all criminal. On following Hurricane Michael, as far into January of 2019, Laura Walquist was going in, like there's a sign-in record, there's a record of court attendance for each round. They entangle these people in these false crimes, real crimes and false crimes. This is how the process works. They then say, okay, you got to come back every 30 days, and then these 30 days, it's very intimidating, isn't it? Court date, you don't know, man. If you're not there on time, they're gonna violate probation. They're gonna lock you up. They do all kinds of scary stuff. And
I was going back for a year.
For a year,
on 2 charges.
But they threaten you. They try to coercion. They try all kind of schemes. I've got some of it on videotape of just coercion schemes and just massive fraud by way of practice, custom and practice. So they move through this process, and people have to sign their names, and here's, and they say, not only here's what we did this day, but this is your return, this is your next step. You sign that day. In the third week of January 2019, Laura Walquist went into every single record signed by every single person. After they signed it, and in her own handwriting, she wrote in the margin or some obscure place on it, this person agrees to waive their speedy trial rights. Or by signing this, they agree. That, each one of those is a fraud count enough to put her away for life. The way I discovered that, I was encouraged by an attorney to meet and interview a young man. I heard terrible things about the young man. And I didn't want to meet him. I didn't want to have anything to do with him, just young. Didn't want to be seen in public. Some of these people have reputations, good and bad, well-founded or not. This guy, I told him, I said, look, I don't have time for you. I'm rude and ugly most of the time. You can attest to that. But I'm straight. Have I ever lied to you? Do I give you hard information?
You do.
Do I crush your feelings?
Yes.
Are we okay?
We good.
We're good. But to this point.
Right.
To this point, if I say it, I believe it hard or have a foundation. Anyway, this young man met me, and he was a scrappy looking little fellow. And I said, look, I don't have time for you. I'm going to meet you at this little gas station I'm passing through town, coming back from Tallahassee, meeting with Marie Maddox, crooked bitch attorney. I'm coming back from Tallahassee, meeting with her, and I'll meet you out in front of the junior store underneath the fluorescent lights. You stand apart from me. There's no exchange. There's nothing. You have to do this with some of these people. Going,
Yes.
This is not a drop off, pick up, no transaction.
Right.
Anyway, so I meet this guy. The guy comes in, and I said, look, what's the deal? He said, look, I just had a court date, and I'm feeling really bad about it and all. And he's excited. And he said, I understand you could help me. And I said, potentially. What you got? He handed me some paper, and I looked at it, and immediately I said, why'd you sign this? And he said, well, I had a court date, and I had to sign this just to get out of the building, and I'm like going, so you sign it? And I said, well, is this your signature? And he said, yeah. And I said, it was indiscernible, what it was. It was a scribble, nothing better than an X, hardly. And I said, that's your signature. He said, that's it. And I said, well, I'm going to hand this back to you. And I said, tell me why you signed it. Read it to me. And he stalled. And I mean, no harm to him. I'm not going to mention his name at this point in time, but I will to federal agents if they want to do something about this. One thing led to another, and I says, you can't read. And he said, well, And I said, I'm not being ugly to you. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm trying to discern. You signed a piece of paper you can't read, so you have no idea what is here. Tell me about this. Is it dyslexia or whatever? And he said, well, they have always called me stupid. I mean, there's a lot of baggage that come with this. I don't know if he's dyslexic, the exact, he and I were not there to get an official diagnosis. People probably didn't have the financial resources to get him the help he needed. So he was, he was a little dynamic, possibly squirrely, but as a result of this lifetime affliction. So I said, so hold it. So Laura Walquist tampered your document before or after your signature. He says, sir, that was not there. She wrote that on after it. I said, but irrespective, everyone in the courtroom knew you could not read and you didn't have the ability. She took undue advantage of someone that was known to be impaired.
Not surprising.
And they do that routinely. In the third week of January 2019, she did that to every document that came through the court. Every document that the police signed, everything that just said, I made my court date and I'll see you next month. That is fraud. She did every single one after the fact. She wrote on the document after they signed it. It's fraud. It's fraud in official filing. It's an official document. And that's how that office functioned. That was the period of time where Westr was active, wasn't it? 2019, he had already been removed at that point by 2018. 2018 he was removed. So she was still active running her scheme, so it didn't slow their roll. They're doing it today. By the way, Laura Walquist, my understanding is she's a public defender in Calhoun County. She's a crooked bitch. Crooked. And she now has people coming to disclose. Here's the thing. I believe she's being groomed for a judge position. When I met her, she had a 100% conviction rating until she came to me. And it didn't go well for them. Thereafter, after 2019, when I started making disclosures that she was tampering records and all, they moved her, protected her from prosecution as a prosecutor and moved her across the aisle to a public defender where she's doing the same crooked stuff, harming people all the way down the road. And she's played fake prosecutor. She knows how to be a fake defender. It's nutty.
But she had such a small role.
Hold it now. My understanding is that she stepped down from the stand. She said, claimed that she had a small role. She had a huge role. No.
Her words, quote unquote, mine was such a small role.
Hold it. She was the prosecutor. No one could have been prosecuted unless she was in business with Westr. Is that right? No one could have been prosecuted.
Small.
No, but is it true? She was the prosecutor. At any point in time, she should have said, Westr, buddy, pal, friend of mine, we got to stop this shit.
Welcome, my name is Ted Whitten. I clearly need your help in reaching others. Your civil liberties are in jeopardy. Others need to know. Tell them. Watch to the end and share with your friends as if your life and freedom depends on it, because it may. It was demonstrated in Florida criminal court that Deputy Zachary Westr of Jackson County Sheriff Department in Marianna, Florida, was found guilty at trial of planting drugs in the cars of citizens at numerous traffic stops. Westr used the unconstitutional technique of proactive patrolling to initiate a search following a stop for a fabricated cause in the Teresa Odom stop. The taillight Westr claimed was faulty worked fine. The cause for the stop did not properly exist. The escalation for the search was without reason. The corrupt officer used proactive patrolling techniques to unlawfully access the personal property to commit a crime. This unconstitutional police technique is often used to strip persons of their personal property rights, and is often in violation of the U.S. Constitution, Fourth Amendment rights for search and seizure. Wester's violation of constitutional rights facilitated crimes by law enforcement and the judiciary that continue to unfold. I find reason to believe this racketeering scheme and cover-up extend all the way to and through the federal judiciary. The federal judiciary and court system is corrupt beyond measure, as you may soon see. The news media to this point has missed the biggest crime of all. Those who partner with Westers have dodged responsibility, yet common sense would tell you there is no way he operated alone. In this series of open mic interviews, we reveal accomplices and accomplice angles to include judges, prosecutors, defenders, attorneys, and others involved in racketeering and protection racket crimes. Understand, in a RICO crime, each individual is guilty for each event of the organization. Wester's crimes and the cover-up involves many people. Our interview begins with a hidden camera discussion with Teresa Odom, whose traffic stop video helped expose Zachary Westr. You might recall Teresa was the lady in the small white truck, see the video link, in which Westr concealed the drugs in his left glove, moved the drugs about the vehicle until his crime of fraud was perfected, and she was charged, incarcerated, and convicted of drugs by Westr's accomplice, the prosecutor. Understand, the prosecutor's office was a partner in the crimes and took measures to avoid being entangled. The state attorney and others in Panama City, Florida, routinely partner crimes with law enforcement by tampering of evidence and records. Yet the governor of Florida fires prosecutors for not following his rules. But what about those committing crimes of malicious prosecution and tampering of public records? Watch and see what unfolds in these 100-plus interviews. The governor's office and that of Inspector General appear to be covering color of law crimes in the northern Florida districts and presumably elsewhere. It is criminal RICO facilitating. The government has gone rogue, and law enforcement is operating as organized crime. Folks must realize their civil rights are gone. Links in the description below will be added to reveal associated crimes. If you do not see the links, remind me in the comments and I will post the links. Share with a friend quickly, because the retaliation by the state, law enforcement, and their associated criminal partners is anticipated. This will likely become large enough to involve the governor's office. Share with everyone you know. Folks, we are taking great risk here to bring you some rather colorful deceptions from the hoax judicial process you depend on for your civil rights. We need some real-life superheroes to share this presentation at a high level with deep commitment. We want you to be a part of the judicial revolution coming soon. Help us to help you. Share this with the brightest people you know. This is a modern David and Goliath saga. The uncircumcised Philistines will be exposed. The federal judiciary has been weaponized to oppose the nation they serve. Widespread fraud in judicial proceedings are being used to mask a host of judicial racketeering schemes, including schemes by sitting judges committing frauds to conceal motions to impeach the judge and court officers for corruption and offenses. Frauds to suppress material evidence recur often. The lawyers of this nation, operating in failure mode, are undermining the destruction of this nation. Look at Congress and the Senate, full of lawyers doing what exactly? Attorneys in this country will not risk their career to expose the ongoing repetitive fraud, and criminal racketeering by judges and the judiciary, my law career as an attorney, in fact, appears nearing its end. It appears I have nothing to lose. All forms of collaboration opportunities on this project will be entertained. Subscribe and share this video to receive notice and access to the uncut versions as they come available. We have many opportunities to partner and win. Thank you for your patience and participation in advance. There is something for everyone here. Pray for our success. Feel free to create short TikTok loops from this video and share with the world. Post your TikTok loop below below the original video for extra traffic, and subscribe to receive a special access offer. TikTok loopers, do loops with my Crooked Bastards excerpts and receive an autographed copy of my book, The Answer to Cancer, A Simple Solution for the Western Condition. Bloggers, post your opinion of this epic disaster and tag me in it, and we'll respond in kind and send you an autographed book. You twits on Twitter, share your thoughts and tag a video to stir the broader friends and followers you have. It is time to take back the nation from parasitic politicians. Feel free to demonstrate your IQ below in the comments and engage others. As we move forward dismantling things opposed to your freedom, we look forward to collaboration opportunities with well-grounded podcasters and power media players. Podcasters, I will reveal fresh, hot evidence in any and every podcast interview if you have me on your show. Also, I will facilitate your efforts to more than double your subscriber base. Fighters for justice must come together. Pray for this effort. The criminal operation being exposed is real. They oppose a national and a national and international threat through widespread systematic abuses of civil and human rights. A massive human trafficking effort underlies this enterprise. If you have the ability to notify the FBI or the DOJ, Department of Justice, please do so. There's a massive cover-up at the Florida governor's office, it seems. This type of color of law scheme in federal judiciary and related entities is a kind of government corruption harming our nation. The citizens have no means to correct it, and the attorneys are complicit with the schemes because they will not risk their career to save an individual case. Massive failures in the fiduciaries and oaths of office exist. Corruption in law enforcement is rampant with no oversight. At the time of launch, this effort is largely founded and funded by book sales. About the time the federal, state, and local government were revealed as unlawfully targeting and drastically violating my human and civil rights, I was launching a series of self-help books, including this one, CO2 and You, A Release from All Sickness. Thereafter, the governments of the world implemented a system to make you wear things to cover your face, which can lead to CO2 accumulation in your breathe there, thus initiating a series of health issues leading to a host of issues explored in this book. Get the Fix, presently on Amazon. CO2 and You, A Release from All Sickness by Ted Whidden and Doc Mathia. Link to the purchase is in the description. Watch and pray about retaliation. High-level corruption in law enforcement is protected through retaliation, framing, extortion, and a host of crimes by law enforcement against citizens as acts of intimidation. Further, those who push unconstitutional concept of proactive patrolling encourages law enforcement to violate your civil rights on the hunch of poorly trained law enforcement. It masks corrupt behavior as a scheme. This is government racketeering. The westr crimes are examples of what can occur through proactive policing. The governor and anyone pushing this agenda appear at war and in violation of the United States Constitution. Corruption at the federal judge level already impedes your civil rights, yet you will not become aware until you need them, and it will be too late. Share this with your favorite attorney. Advise them by joining our efforts they could win. However, remind them that all who oppose me are in fact facilitating a $16 billion RICO, which each individual facilitator is responsible for in full. Watch the drama unfold as we move forward towards launching, towards launching an attorney referral system to address your civil rights issues. We are currently seeking rap music artists and animators or cartoonists for collaborative projects soon to be released. Subscribe and get ready for the rollout. Share this around the world before it can be taken down. If you post this to your social media, then place the link in the comments under the original video. We will reach out to you. Keep in mind, Mr. Whidden is not an attorney. Mr. Whidden is honest, and that may preclude the ability for him to practice law. Whidden has explored legal misdirection and corruption in federal, state, and local judiciary and law enforcement. It is seen as his obligation under USC Title 18, Section 4, misprision of felony statutes to notify officials and to warn others. This method of notice is being tested because every lawful attempt to report has been met by officials who were and are corrupt in facilitating racketeering crimes of others. Mr. Whidden's mental faculties have been questioned by the state in their attempt to obscure their crimes. The federal government is complicit. See the link below. Publicly filed documents and notices have been obscured repetitively by Magistrate Michael J. Frank, Judge Margaret Casey Rogers, Clerk Jeremy Wright, Florida State's Attorney's Office, and others. See link below. Further to this, sheriffs in the region and other corrupt law enforcement began and continue targeting Whidden for pushing back against the color of law crimes against American citizens. See links below. It is with assurance crimes are widespread and patternistic. If Michael J. Franks is involved, it appears from my perspective there's a crime afoot. See link to impeachment below. Keep in mind, even lawful actions to further interrupt, obstruct, or conceal a person's First Amendment rights to expose a RICO or racketeering crime can result in charges for the RICO or racketeering crime. They're all complicit. There are links under our originally posted video that should serve you well. The best is yet to come.